an off-duty police officer shooting dead someone who stabbed 8 people in that mall last night. Let's listen in.
Evening, it actually it reminds me of, or it's something that I hear very often. In the 11 years that I've been mayor, I think I get asked this question often, what keeps you up at night? Well, with what happened last night is what keeps me up at night. It was certainly a tragic situation that happened at Crosswoods Mall, but I want to, first of all, thank the law enforcement response. Not only our St. Cloud PD, but the departments from throughout the area, the Sheriff's Office, our firefighters, emergency management folks, ambulance, all of the response teams of our first responders were exemplary in how quickly they were there and responded to the events that took place last night. And I'd also like to thank the response that Crossroads, the management at Crossroads, the staff, the folks in Target and Macy's, a number of folks that were also extremely helpful in their response last night. Our thoughts and our prayers continue to be with the victims, the individuals that were attacked last night. I want to just give you an update from the previous press conference we held last night. Since that night, there have been some changes. We had an additional individual who self-admitted in Long Prairie Hospital. So there were 9 victims. 9 victims, and as of 7 o'clock this morning, there were 3 that were still in the hospital. No one with any type of life-threatening injuries, but there are 3 of the 9 that remain in the hospital. The other individuals have been released. Those victims, I'll give you an without the names, but Rain, I'll give you male 22-year-old from Big Lake, male 24-year-old from Wilmer, male 53-year-old from Albany, male 45-year-old from St. Cloud, male 20-year-old from St. Cloud, female 15-year-old from Big Lake, female 50-year-old from Kimball, male 29-year-old from St. Cloud, and a male 31-year-old from Avon. Our thoughts and prayers are with these victims, but also all of the other individuals in the mall on a Saturday night. As you can imagine, on a weekend, the amount of people in the mall, I can't help but think of the families and the children that witnessed a horrific action. But I also want to recognize the individual off-duty police officer who eliminated the threat and took down the suspect. That officer is from the Avon Police Department, Jason Faulkner. Jason Faulkner is a part-time police officer for Avon. He is the former chief of police of Albany. He was in the mall, and as somebody who has had an opportunity to witness the surveillance tape in Macy's and witnessed what he did, he clearly prevented additional injuries and potentially loss of life. His heroic actions are exemplary, having witnessed what he did as the suspect was lunging at him with the knife. Not only did he fire, the suspect went down, he came back up on 3 different occasions. He, again, protected others from being injured and potentially loss of life. Clearly, a hero. Officer Faulkner was there at the right time, at the right place. The mall, Crossroads Shopping Center, will be the crime scene is now. The police have left. It will remain closed today. Crossroads is expected to open for business as usual tomorrow, but it'll be closed today. I want to again thank the responders. I also want to thank, in a situation like this, you really understand what your community is made of. The strong support that I have heard and received in phone calls, in emails, texts, through social media, not only from our community but from all over the world. The outpouring of support in this community. We're a strong community. We're a united community. And there is, in this individual, evil act, unjustifiable in any means, will not shake the resolve of this community. We have had tremendous outpouring, not only, as I mentioned, from throughout the world, but within our community. That support is very strong and clearly is evident in this community, the strength of this community. I'm going to have come up now to the podium Chief of Police for the City of St. Cloud, Blair Anderson, and as he comes up, again, I can't say enough for the first responders in our community and beyond just the City of St. Cloud, who clearly are a great example of their profession and are extremely worthy of our admiration and respect. Chief Anderson.
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon. I want to reiterate the mayor's sentiment. Our thoughts and prayers go out to all the victims and their families, and we certainly want to acknowledge all of our partners, our neighboring partners, our federal and state partners. At a time like this, you need your colleagues and your partners, and they were there for us, and they still are. I can tell you, before I go back through the chronology, that from the first 911 call till the subject was eliminated was approximately 5 minutes. And that's what we expect when something like this starts. We train to respond to these kinds of incidents swiftly, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. But for that swift response, particularly the actions of Officer Faulkner, I agree with the mayor that this could have been much, much worse. And no one being injured obviously is acceptable, but this could have been a lot worse but for the swift response, not only from the men and women of St. Cloud Police Department, but all of our neighbors as well. And so I'll go over the chronology with you again in case some of you weren't available last evening. At approximately 8 or 8:15 last night, one individual entered the southeast side of the Crossroads Mall on Division Street and attacked 9 people. We now know there were 9 victims, as the mayor said, one self-transported to a hospital outside of our jurisdiction. Stabbed 9 people, was confronted by Officer Faulkner, and I had the opportunity to view the video with the mayor, and I couldn't agree more with his take on it. This is what we're trained to do. Unfortunately, none of us ever want to have to do that, but that's what we're here for. Our job is the public safety of all. And Officer Faulkner's actions, again, were swift and direct, and in my opinion, appropriate. I don't think I have anything more to add other than between last night, obviously, and this morning, we've executed at least 2 search warrants at an address here in St. Cloud. We did discover the suspect's vehicle in the mall parking lot. That vehicle was cleared and impounded. In other words, there's no imminent threat either from that vehicle, or right now, there's nothing that we have gleaned that would suggest to us that this is anything other than what it appears to be now. Now, keep in mind, and let me emphasize, at this time, there's nothing to suggest anything differently than what you've been told, all right? But there are a lot of moving parts, and this is a fluid situation, and I can assure you we will be transparent with you on any developments, so long as they don't compromise our investigation. I'm going to turn it over to Special Agent in Charge, Rick Thornton. He is the SAC from the Minneapolis Office of the Federal Bureau of Investigation.
Good afternoon. As Chief Anderson said, my name is Rick Thornton. I'm the Special Agent in Charge for the FBI in Minnesota. I want to echo what the Chief said in terms of this is a very fluid situation and will continue to evolve. The FBI and the Joint Terrorism Task Force has been working side by side with the St. Cloud Police Department and other partners since last night, throughout the night and today. We are currently investigating this as a potential act of terrorism, and I do say potential. There's a lot we don't know. We do not at this point in time know whether the subject was in contact with, had connections with, was inspired by a foreign terrorist organization. That's what the investigation is attempting to ascertain at this point in time. That will involve all the things that you would expect. We'll look at his social media, we'll look at his electronic devices, we'll talk to associates. We will try to sort of peel back the onion and figure out what motivated this individual to commit the horrific act that he did last night. I also want to remiss in not echoing the mayor and the chief's sentiment of thoughts and prayers out to the 9 individuals that were victimized and the other people that had to experience the trauma, even if they weren't physically injured. That's our role at this point in time, along with the St. Cloud PD, is to figure out what happened and to ultimately, hopefully, establish what the motivation was. Thank you very much.
We'll take a few questions, you all, and I will defer some of those to the lead investigator on this case, Lieutenant Lori Ellering. So feel free if you have to defer to.
All right, sorry about we lost that signal out of St. Cloud, Minnesota, but you heard there the press conference unfolding, describing that there are now 9 victims, stabbing victims, when this man, who they are not yet ready to reveal the identity of, simply walked into a shopping mall in St. Cloud, about 80 miles outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, and started stabbing people. 9 victims in all, 2 women ages 15 and 50, 7 men ranging in ages of 20 and 53. There was no elaboration from authorities there as to the security, private security firm uniform that was earlier reported that this stabber was wearing, but we do know that investigators have said that they have now found the vehicle that was parked in that shopping mall. They have looked through it, and of course they have search warrants for at least 1 address. Let's talk more about this with my returning panel. Evan Perez is joining us out of Washington, D.C., Art Roderick, Matthew Horace, Shimon Prokopets, and Paul Kirkshank, all with me now. All right, let's talk about what we heard and what we didn't hear here. So Matthew, we heard from investigators there